What's happening, players? Ryan here from BassMatter, taking you through the core bass learning program. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the basics of fingerstyle bass playing, by far the most popular method out there, and cover some of the different ways that people tune their basses. Let's get to work. What's up, players? We're going to cover in this lesson a blend of two different things. We're going to talk about the basics of fingerstyle playing, and we're going to talk about some of the methods that people have to tune their bass. So if you want to jump to the tuning portion of the video, find the marker right here and you'll be able to go right to it. Starting off with fingerstyle playing, okay? So this is going to be involved mostly the right hand to start with here, but we're going to be working down here, okay? And this is our music hand. We'll talk about our plucking hand being our musical hand down the road, but this is where so much of the magic happens, right over here with our right hand. So many of the things that we do here is what makes all of those great sounds come to life. So let's take a look at fingerstyle playing. We're going to be working with these three fingers, our thumb, number one, and number two finger, okay? The first thing that we're going to talk about is what's called anchoring, which is a place where you put your thumb, basically. You're going to be anchoring off of a pickup, typically, okay? In our last video, we talked about anatomy of a bass, so you should have a good idea of what pickups are now. But pickups here, we're going to be resting our thumb on these pickups, okay? And we're going to start off by taking our number one and number two fingers and just plucking, okay? So we're going to be pinching the pads of our fingertips together. We're not going to be hooking under and pulling up. We're not going to be pressing down on the string. We're going to be pinching the pads of our fingers together. So let's start with our E string, which is our big one here, closest to our chin. And let's put our thumb on our pickup and let's pluck. Between your number one and number two finger, you should have a nice even volume between the two. So make sure that you take your time and get used to being able to play at a similar volume level between your number one and number two finger, okay? Now let's work going all the way across the strings, okay? We're not going to be focusing on the left hand yet. We'll get there in just a moment. We're going to have here 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now let's work on coming down. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Do you hear the mess we've got right now? All of these other tones are taking place right now. This is where we start talking about string control, and there's a lot more with it with the right hand that we'll cover later, but let's start off with the simple aspect of our fretting hand. In my case, as I'm a traditional player here, we're going to have our left hand on the neck. This may be opposite if you're a left-handed player, but regardless, fretting hand, plucking hand, okay? Excuse me. Okay, let's take a look at how we can control those strings with our left hand, especially as we are descending, coming back down. So if I'm going up, 1, 2, 1, 2, as you can see, my fingers here are muting or stopping the vibrations of the strings that I just plucked previously because I'm allowing them to run into the string. If I go up to my D string now, I'm now muting my A that I was plucking previously. And then to my G, now I'm actually muting the D string that was vibrating. So ascending, we have a great muting mechanism already built in with our fingers as we continue to go up. Now coming back down is where things can get a little bit crazy. So let's start off with the G, and I'm going to keep my thumb on my pickup here and come G. With my left hand, just lay it across the top of the strings. I'm not hitting hard, I don't want to get that sound, but I'm just going to rest it across the top of the strings so it stops the vibration. And then down, down again, last one, okay? Now from here, as you can see, I'm using my pinky to mute the strings as I'm coming down across the fretboard, so I don't have to have a big slapping type sound. And that's a real percussive element that's part of playing that we'll talk about later as well. But the basics of fingerstyle: right hand using these 3 fingers, you're anchoring your thumb on your pickup, and you are plucking across the strings using your number 1 and number 2 fingers. So make sure you work on these and make sure that you're alternating, okay? Some opinions out there is you have to be alternating 100% of the time. The reality is there's a lot of players that use almost exclusively one finger, and when that finger gets tired, or they work up a blister, or they burn that fingertip out, or they want to go faster, they figure out that they got to bring in a second finger to fix that problem. So try to, at first, start building a strong habit of always alternating 1 and 2, and we'll talk about raking and exceptions for that rule down the road as well. But for starting off for here, we'll just want to be using these 2 fingers, alternating all the time. Okay, alternating all the time with these 2, and then getting a good tone going. So you can get a lot of fun stuff with fingerstyle. So fingerstyle is a super, super fun, super popular method. Make sure that you're practicing just with your left hand, stopping the strings from vibrating after you pluck them with your right hand, and pinching the pads of your fingers together. If you're getting this sound, it means that you're hooking under the string and pulling up. And that's a real aggressive tone, more of the slap and pop type stuff. It's not a wrong tone, but it's probably not the specific type of sound you're getting for when you're playing fingerstyle. Again, if you're pressing down, you get a very similar, aggressive, very growly tone. Again, not a wrong tone, just something that you want to be intentional with, and that's probably not the sound you're looking for when it comes to playing a fingerstyle type sound or song or walking a bass line or blues. You want to be practicing pinching the pads of those fingers together to get a more even tone. All right, perfect, guys. That covers the basics of fingerstyle playing. Now let's go ahead and jump in and talk about tuning. So first of all, on your instrument, every instrument has its own tuning built into it. The bass guitar traditionally here has 4 strings. I know that there's 5 strings and 6 strings, but for 4-string basses, the thickest string closest to our chin is going to be traditionally tuned to the note E. The next one's going to be tuned to A, then to the note D, then to the note G. They are tuned in fourths as you work laterally across. We'll start making sense of scale degrees later, but let's talk about how people tune their basses. The most common way is to just use some sort of an electronic tuner, and they're great. There's a lot of great free ones out there. Probably can't see the iPad too good back here, but paying attention up here, you probably can't see because it's not focusing in, but if I play a note, it's going to give me a little needle that's coming up towards the center, and it's coming off center one way or the other, telling me if I'm sharp, which means my pitch is too high, or if I'm flat, which means that my pitch is too low. And by using my tuning pegs up here, if I make the string tighter, it's going to send the pitch up, and if I loosen the string, it's going to send the pitch lower. So on my G here, I'm in tune, but let me untune that here. If we look at that, you'll see that little needle over here wavering towards the left side of top center, and I want to bring that pitch up to get right into the center. Now, as we talk about electronic tuners, and most of them function this way, there are, of course, different alternatives out there, especially with smartphone stuff and tablet apps out there. There's a broad range of tuning options out there, but you want to make sure that your strings are tuned E, A, D, and G, and you want to make sure that all of your items are in tune. Now, we'll talk about cents and measurements of pitch later, but in the top right of almost every tuner, you'll see a little tiny thing where it's telling you how many cents plus or minus, and cents is a measurement of pitch, and by how high you are or how low you are by a measurement of cents. The human ear really can't detect more than about 4 or 5 cents of pitch, so don't worry about getting that to 0, just getting it close, and you should be able to snap up your tuning pretty quick. The next popular method out there is people that use tuning forks. I don't know if you can actually hear this all right, but this one is actually tuned to A440, so let's talk about frequencies for a second. A440, what the heck does that mean? Well, 440 hertz is a frequency out there, and it's right around the range of what the A above middle C on a piano is going to be. Now, in the late 1800s, there was a real loose standard for what frequency we would actually call that note A. There was 435, there was 443, and somewhere in the early 1900s, an International Standardization Institute got involved and said, let's fine, that's it, let's call A 440 hertz. That way music can be compatible from one nation or one country or one author to the next. And so the note A is traditionally and specifically tuned to the frequency 440 hertz. Now, I know that there's plenty of artists out there that are messing with this and bending these rules, and they're not rules, they're just bending the standard, going to 435 hertz, 443 hertz, because it really does create different colors in your tones. But almost every electronic tuner you're going to buy from the store, almost every app you're going to download for an iPhone or for an Android device, almost every tuning fork you're going to be able to purchase at any one of your local music stores is going to be at a 440 hertz, okay? So using to a tuning fork here, what this is, this gives me my A. I can hear this, but you guys probably can't hear this, but I hear my A. I make sure that my A is tuned to this, and then I go to another tuning method here, and this is what we see all the time as bands get together and start jamming, and then somebody says, give me an A. So somebody gives them an A, and then they all tune up to their A, and then they'll either go to their 5th fret on their stringed instrument, whether it be a guitar or a bass, and they'll play that 5th fret, which is a D, and they'll make sure that that D is the same as their next D. And if there's a big difference in pitch, they'll fix it. And then they'll go to their next string on the 5th fret, and then play that as well. You can also use what are called harmonics. And that's going to be the 5th fret on your low string and the 7th fret on your high string, making sure that those are not having a wavy sound in there. Okay, and that's going to be part of the harmonic tuning. But for the basics, I use an electronic tuner almost all the time, but I can tune by harmonics, I can tune pretty good by ear, I can tune by using my 5th fret, and I can tune by using a tuning fork, but a lot of different methods out there. The easiest place to start is just by using a simple electronic tuner. Alright guys, that's it for this lesson. Make sure you stay tuned for the next one, which is where we start identifying music, what's rhythm and what's pitch. Don't forget to find us online on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and follow us on Google+, and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and we'll see you guys at the next one. Bon voyage.